Welcome back to the Superheroes Everyday Podcast. I'm Danny Horn. I am here with Joe Hennis of the Muppet fan site Tough Pigs. Hey, Joe.
Hey, Danny, I'm back.
Oh, it's nice to see you again. This is Act 3 of the 2011 Wide Awake Nightmare Green Lantern. Act 2 ended with the worst possible shot, and because this is Green Lantern, it is followed by the worst possible scene. Hector comes home. Things are not going well for Hector following this party. He is sweaty and stumbling. Something terrible is happening to him. He clutches a desk for support. There are horrible screeching noises, followed by terrible cracking sounds, which is the sound that your skull makes when it's made a whole bunch of new decisions about what its shape should be and has not consulted you on this. He cries out in pain. He clutches his temple. He hears an awful noise in his head. He is flung to the floor. He gets up, his hair is hanging loose from the back of his head, and then we see what is happening to Hector's skull. It is cracking, it is remolding itself, and it is not doing that painlessly. We can see the bumps moving around under the skin on his forehead, and he puts his hands up to his head, and that is when the atomic level screeching begins. He gives out these horrific squeals of pain and fear. This is not someone shouting. This is the sound of someone losing his mind in excruciating pain. It goes on for 15 seconds, and we see from the next shot that people can hear it in space. So this is a problem. I think of this as a Howard the Duck problem. Nobody else does because no one else has seen the movie and knows what I'm talking about. But you want villains in a movie to be mean and obnoxious and do villainous things, and maybe they look ugly, and that's fine. But Howard the Duck is mostly concerned with this one guy who is very gradually turning into a terrible, disgusting alien monster. And it's scene after scene after scene of him getting worse and worse and worse and more horrible and ugly. And that is what happens with Hector here. Again, I get it's a villain. He looks like a big, terrible monster, but you kind of do need to make sure that you're putting something on screen that the audience actually wants to look at and listen to.
Yeah, there's a way to do ugly, but also like, whoa, look at that supervillain. We'll talk soon, I'm sure, about the toys, but like, they're not creating a character here who can translate to a toy, let alone be a toy that anyone's ever going to want to buy.
And it feels to me like this is the moment where the movie just completely, fully loses its audience. Carol is working late, and out on the balcony, there's some green light, and she comes out, and he's there. And then there's a moment which I actually think that they do really well, where he's got the mask, and he thinks that he's fooling her, and he tries on this very like deep voice. He's like, "Evening, ma'am." And she's like, she just looks at him for a second. She's like, "Oh my God, how? What is going on?" And he's like, "How did you know it was me?" And she says, "What do you mean? I've known you my whole life. I've seen you naked. You don't think I would recognize you because I can't see your cheekbones?" Which is good.
It's the best scene in the movie.
Yeah.
The one good scene, the entire movie.
Where they've made a real good decision. Yeah. To make this a little bit more realistic.
And this is the thing that makes me like Blake Lively's performance as Carol. Because she's not just being the nagging boss. She's not just being the unattainable girlfriend or whatever. Yeah. Like, this is her scene where she's like, "I'm smarter than you."
Oh, I totally agree. Yeah. So all right. So Green Lantern gets something right, which is, we thought it was going to be 0. It turns out to be 1.
Right. Yep.
All right.
And it's over. Now it's done.
I know. So now they're talking, and she's asking him, "So how does all this stuff work?" And he has no idea, and we have no idea. This would have been a moment when he could have told her, and we would have learned. He says, "I actually kind of quit." And she says, "How do you walk away from something like that? And if for once you didn't quit something you cared about, what's the worst that could happen?" And the thing is, he doesn't care about it, and he shouldn't, because it's a terrible job.
So first of all, she claims that he walks away from everything he cares about. The only thing that we know of that he has walked away from before this Green Lantern stuff happened was his relationship with Carol.
Yes.
Right?
Because he still has his fighter pilot job, very important fighter pilot job. Yeah.
He loves his job.
Yeah.
He is close with his family.
Oh, yeah. He has a really nice relationship with his nephew.
Yeah, obviously cared a lot about like his dad and his dad's memory, and
Yeah.
like built his whole life around that. Like he's
Yeah.
like, if anything, he should be walking away from some of this stuff.
The thing that I think is very weird is that she completely accepts, on very little information, the idea that the Green Lantern Corps does awesome work that's hugely important. And there is no evidence that that is the case, either here or in the entire movie.
She, I guess, has the inkling that he can use these powers to be a hero.
Mm-hmm.
But and here's the thing, like, probably should have talked about this earlier. He quits the Corps,
Yeah.
but keeps the ring.
I know, and the costume and all the powers and everything.
Right.
Yep.
So, as far as anyone's concerned, he can be a superhero. He could be a Green Lantern on Earth. Nobody's being like, and you gotta give us your gun and your badge. And even Carol saying like, you're like don't quit something that you obviously feel strongly about. It's like, yeah, he could keep doing that. He just doesn't have to join the cult.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah. The lesson, the scene here is supposed to be like, don't quit things. But you absolutely should quit jobs if you don't know what you're doing and they're treating you badly.
Right.
Just absolutely what's happening here. And then Horrible Hector goes to the science lab. He goes back to his lab.
Back to the set.
Back to the set where he's doing stuff. And Amanda Waller comes back into our lives and says, Dr. Hammond, there's something I'd like to show you. And he grabs her hand and he turns his terrible misshapen head and he sees a vision of her husband and kids being shot because it's been a while since we've seen a parent die in this movie.
And here's the thing. I get that Hector is growing in power. Mm-hmm. He's already got telekinesis and telepathy.
Yeah.
Like, now we also need to have, like, I touched you and I saw all your memories. Like, that doesn't add anything to your character. Like, all it does is, like, give us more backstory for a character who isn't really not doing anything in this movie.
Not important.
Yeah.
It is not important that we have that backstory at all. Yeah.
No, not in the least.
Yep. But as he grins, physical contact accesses mnemonic data. I can see your memories. He's just like turning into kind of like Peter Lorre, sort of like just super creep. He's terrible.
Oh, Peter Lorre would have been a great Hector.
He would have been terrific. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she takes this horrible monster and they go back to the important government place, which we can't really figure out what it is.
You're not allowed to know. We signed an NDA.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Dad's there too. Senator's there. He says, this is my fault, but I'm going to fix it and we're going to get you well. And then they sedate him. Hal is brooding and looking at his ring, and he's thinking about TR, the Traveling Rooster, being encouraging to him. And then the ring flashes twice, which is supposed to indicate that there is danger somewhere, and his eyeballs go green.
Yeah, that's his spidey sense. Yeah.
Hal Jordan's back in the cult. That's all you need. When Hector comes to, he is being restrained, as he should be. They're going to run some tests on him and try and like wet vac the alien stuff out of him somehow. And he's got his terrible yellow eyes and he's about to do something horrible. And Waller says, you know what, how about we keep him under? Which would have been a good idea before we let him wake up.
Now, the Amanda Waller of any other universe would have been like,
she would have cut his head off. Yeah, she would have cut his head off. This isn't worth
the headache.
Yeah, why are we doing this? Yeah. No, he's a dangerous monster.
That's right.
And so he uses his power. Guy is coming at him with a syringe to give him sedative, and he makes that guy just stab that syringe straight into his own eye and die.
Who is this movie for?
I know.
There are children in the audience.
I was definitely like, I was not ready for a syringe in the eye at that moment. No. That was not a thing I made a choice to see when I walked in here, but that's what just happened. And then he just leaps up onto the table and he says, run, like a serial killer.
Yep. Like, that's the kind of thing that a supervillain in any other story would have been like, oh, I've been waiting my whole life to have some power.
Yeah.
I can finally intimidate some people.
Yeah.
It's like he was perfectly happy, with his quiet life as a professor on the couch.
It turns out he just wanted to murder. He just wanted to be sadist and murder people. So he locks his dad down, kills some security guards with their own taser guns. But here comes Hal, busting through the wall somehow.
Out of nowhere.
Hector drops Waller and Hal creates some water for her to fall in, which would not be my first choice.
Again, could have been like a bathtub, and that would have been fun with a Green Lantern rubber duck.
Yeah,
you know?
No, that's true. Yeah,
would have been fun.
And then Hector does more horrible squealing. And I got to give him credit. Like he does. I mean, it is very effective, horrible squealing. I do a sound clip at the end of episodes. And so I was watching this and I was thinking like, well, I mean, the thing to do would be like, I knew that I was going to like talk about how horrible his screeching was. And I was like, oh, you know what? Maybe I should just like use a clip of him squealing like that so people can hear how horrible it is. And I have decided not to do that.
Yeah, that's how you lose subscribers.
Yeah, no, I was just imagining like somebody listening on their AirPods and especially, it's like sort of the cute sound clip at the very end, little surprise is like someone's listening on their AirPods and like with no warning or context, I just like put that screeching like directly into their ears. So I'm not doing that. If the listeners would like to hear that, you're going to have to go and seek that out on purpose on your own time.
Yep. Make it your ringtone. That's your call.
Yeah. But there's so much of it here. And it's like the movie does not understand its job, which is to entertain us. It does not get that at all.
Right.
There's a smash 'em up oxygen tank fight. And then it kind of ends with the slumber party, which is hard to figure out, where they both just kind of like end up lying on the floor exhausted.
Yep.
And Hector says, "How? Hi."
I did laugh at that moment.
The alien was one of you. Yeah, it's funny. It's just so creepy and awful. I kind of want them to kiss a little bit, but
yeah,
not at all. But actually, not at all.
You want to see Hector Hammond?
No, I don't.
With his puffy
really
face.
No,
smooch up with anyone.
But they're in that position though. They're both kind of like they're just on the floor and they're looking at each other, and it would be a nice moment. But no. So now they're going to create this duality, right? They're going to suddenly whip up out of nowhere this idea that like, well, really the two of them are the same. And what is happening to them is the same. And they are two sides of the same coin, which I don't believe that they actually are, or that's expressed anywhere in the movie. But
no, I do think that they are trying to make that point. They make that they say it several times.
Yeah, they're going to say it right now.
Yeah, but it's funny because like, spoilers, at the end of the movie, we're going to get some hints that Sinestro is going to be a Yellow Lantern. And like, that's two opposite sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
Like, that's what they were going to do in the sequel.
Yeah.
Like, this is like we're the same. It's like, man, no, we're not.
Yeah.
We're not the same.
Yeah. I guess in the sense that like we were both trapped into being something bizarre and horrible that we didn't choose. But yeah.
We both have daddy issues. It's like, everyone in these movies has daddy issues.
Yeah.
That does not make us unique.
And then speaking of his dad, he just lifts up his dad with his mind and smashes him through some glass into a little balcony room. For some reason, I'm going to ask you if you understand this at all. For some reason, which I feel cannot be explained with science or magic, there are two enormous robot arms that shoot fire, and he can take them and turn them with his mind and shoot sheets of flame out of them to flame broil Tim Robbins and roast him alive.
So what's your question?
Why do those arms exist? What the hell? What is that? What are those arms?
Okay, so
why would you have arms like that?
I could tell why the arms exist. Like, that seems like the kind of thing where like they've got a lot of machinery. They got this Hadron Collider or whatever. Like that's like, these are the arms that are like moving things around like cranes. That's really? I can at least picture. I don't know, man. It's
up on the wall like that, up at the top.
Sure.
That makes no sense to me.
But you said they're shooting fire. That's the thing that I don't think makes any sense. It's one thing to be like these. We have these arms that are going to be
that can manipulate something.
Cranes for this very heavy equipment,
right?
Whatever it is, whether it exists in the real world or not, I can wrap my brain around that.
Yeah,
but they also shoot fire in this place where like we probably shouldn't be setting things on fire. We have some very valuable.
Their alien. I know. Oh yeah, no.
We're splitting the atom over there in that corner.
Yeah,
our syringe collection is over there. No fire should be in this room.
Yeah, there's stuff that's like big, expensive, and extremely dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, those are there apparently so that you can throw a human being somewhere and roast him alive within seconds.
Right.
So
That's where they keep their Tim Robbins murder machine.
yes. So there is, and if we want one more dad getting murdered on screen, here he is, Tim Robbins. I mean, I was kind of sick of Tim Robbins too. Hal finally decides that maybe he's going to do something useful. So he reaches out and he touches Hector with his ring, and that connects him to Parallax in space.
What does he think he's doing, by the way?
I don't know. He's getting he what he's doing is he is saying it has been all of this time and I have not yet had a villain monologue at me. And so that's I need to access that. And apparently touching Hector with the ring is the button that lets you do that. So there he is. He's talking to mean, scary Skull Cloud, who says, "You will suffer the same fate once I have devoured your world."
During this supervillain monologue, Parallax says something along the lines of like, "Oh, you wear Abin Sur's ring, and so you're going to suffer the same fate that he did."
Yeah.
And I don't think that Parallax understands how Green Lantern rings work. We're like, sure, you can kill Hal Jordan. Then the ring goes to someone else.
Someone else.
Then you got to kill that guy.
Yeah.
Are you just going to go down the line? Like, that's not a good strategy.
Yeah, it's going to take a while, at least.
Yeah.
If you're planning on killing
everyone in the entire sector. Sector 2814.
They have told us there are millions of species, and this ring is just going to keep zapping around from one of them to another. Eventually, it's going to hit a competent person. It's bound to. Yeah, so I'm looking at this, and I'm just like, imagine being in a movie theater and watching this on purpose.
I did.
I can't even imagine it.
We didn't know what we didn't know, Danny.
There are the known knowns and the unknown, and this was an unknown.
That is correct, yes.
And Hal kind of yells and makes some noise, and that kind of strengthens him somehow, and then he pushes Hector away. And then there's like some light and water and sound, and I am not sure what happens at that point. Did you understand any of this?
No, I had something similar in my notes of like something happens and then somehow they both end up at their respective apartments.
Yeah. Yes. We go back to Oa, where Hal is making a pitch to the Guardians. He's now standing in this circle, lifting up his head, trying to talk to them. Sinestro has decided that he's going to forge a yellow ring and get the power of the enemy. And then Hal arrives and says, but at what cost? Because now he understands kind of everything that's going on. So he does the sales pitch to the Guardians where he's like, I know that humans aren't the strongest species or the smartest. We're young. We have a lot to learn, but we're worth saving. Questions. Why does he need to make this pitch? Why wouldn't they help anyway? Like, isn't that... What do the Green Lanterns do? This is one of them questions. What do they do? I have to travel to you to ask you to help when Parallax, your enemy, your terrible enemy that you are trying to fight, he is coming to my world. And you're not going to come in because we're not the strongest species. What?
I think what's happening is the Guardians are saying, for some reason, for this strategy to work,
yeah,
we have to sacrifice Earth. Like, we got to let Parallax go to Earth and go wreak havoc while we attack Parallax from the other
side. And then we do what?
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also, their strategy is very unclear.
Especially since Parallax has said, I'm going to eat your world, and that will give me the strength and power to defeat the Guardians.
Right. But you're right. I had the same questions of, like, the Guardians are supposed to guard something.
Right.
And, like, they're going to let billions of people die. And, like, because, like, they think humans smell weird. I don't know. The Guardians talk a little bit about how, like, they're immortal and therefore they have to measure their actions by billions of years. So, like, I guess to them also it's like, well, yeah, so we lose one planet, but, like, there'll be another planet with another up and coming civilization. Like, that's just how billions of years works.
But then what is the point of view? What is the point of view at that point?
Yeah.
Goddamn science councils. Always science councils. Completely fucking useless. There is also, just once again, this unquestioned claim that some dumbass sci-fi people are superior to humans with absolutely no evidence of that whatsoever. And the Guardians say, we simply cannot risk losing everything on the chance that you might be right. What could that possibly mean? What does it mean?
I have to assume that there's something about like Parallax is going to eat the universe.
Uh-huh.
And that's losing everything.
Right, but that's the thing. That's the thing that Hal is trying to stop.
Yeah. We just can't. I mean, we gotta let the universe die to save the universe, says the Science Council.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And so they tell him that he's gonna die trying. And
we're all like, good.
And they say, and Sinestro says to him, good luck, Green Lantern. Yeah, and Hal's like, okay, well, fuck all you then. Bye.
I have a question for you. Does Sinestro know Hal Jordan's name?
Probably not.
Does anyone know Hal Jordan's name in the Green Lantern Corps? Tamar Ray may have said it.
I think they mostly just call him stupid, smelly human.
Yeah, because like Kilowog calls him a poozer.
Yeah.
Sinestro calls him a human, and then here he calls him Green Lantern, which is all of their names, by the way. They are all Green Lanterns.
Wouldn't it be nice if Tommy came with them, if Tommy Ray came?
Wouldn't it be nice if literally any one of the 3,600 Green Lanterns with the magical wishing ring and the experience of how to use it go with Hal Jordan?
Yeah, I mean, how about like the little squash green goblin looking one who was kind of standing next to him? Like, how about like just him, just one?
Yeah, he doesn't have an important sector to protect.
It occurs to me that Hal has no work friends. So here comes trouble. A scary skull cloud. Parallax is approaching Earth. And then there's a very mysterious transition where Hal goes to the airplane factory and Carol and Hector are there. And Hector is in a wheelchair. Carol, who we left back at Hal's place with Tom, is now here. She's unconscious and she's floating in the air.
Yeah, and they totally deleted a scene here of Hector kidnapping.
How he grabbed her. I mean, I guess I didn't really want to see, like, I don't, now that you say that, I'm like, did I really want to see that scene? Maybe not. So this scene, what this scene is about is hot people versus ugly people. And they're about to have a conversation about the relative worth of hot people and ugly people. And they come down on the side that you would expect. Hector has Carol up in the air and he does a little villain monologue about, like, I've always been in love with Carol, but she could never see me because you were always standing in the way. So now he's going to shoot her up with yellow alien juice, and then she's going to become a hideous monstrosity. And then Hal will not want her anymore.
And she'll want him.
And she'll want Hector
because she'll have no choice. There'll be no one like her except for him.
So Hal says, please don't do this. And he says, I know how you feel. And Hector says, come on, look at yourself, which means you're a hot person. And screw you, hot person, for judging the ugly person. Which, I mean, it's a pretty good point, actually. I don't understand why this is such a big deal, because there are at least 2 other Carols. So even if he does this to one of the Carols, like, this is why you always keep a spare Carol around in case something like this happens. So the scene is supposed to be about how hot people are not better than ugly people. But the movie absolutely believes that hot people are better than ugly people because they've turned the villain into an ugly person and he's about to die in pain.
Right.
Whereas the hot people are going to go off and fall in love with each other and save the universe.
Although I guess Hector is the only one who's even calling out his ugliness.
Yeah.
Right? Like Hal Jordan doesn't even have a line about, like, you know, like back. Yeah. Like, you would think that there would be a quip about, like, let her go, Leatherface, or whatever.
Yeah, something. Yeah.
But, like, nope. Yeah, he doesn't even take it, like, shoot it back at him.
That's because he's too nice. He's too good. Hot people are always good.
Yeah. Well, no, but yes.
Hal takes a risk. He takes the ring off. He throws it at Hector. And I hope this is another opportunity for Hector to squeal again. He gets all glowy, but doesn't seem to do much for him. And he kind of stands up and he punches through a wall. And then he tries to punch Hal. I don't even want to describe the scene. I'm just realizing I have to describe this whole fucking scene, and it doesn't matter.
Nothing in this scene makes sense. Nothing makes sense. Like, the ring is only supposed to work for Hal.
which it does, but he
But
pretends. I don't even.
yeah, so like Hector uses it to shoot some power balls out of his fist, which means that Hal is really the one doing it. Yeah, forget it.
Parallax comes in and eats Hector. Yeah, and with more terrible, terrible squeals. This is yet more. He is now eaten up, and then Hal runs for the ring, and Parallax grabs him, and now he can't get the ring. And Carol actually has a thing to do. This is actually a nice little moment where they're in the aircraft factory where she works. And so while Hal is struggling with Parallax, she runs into the other room and uses a computer because she is smart and talented, and it fires a missile at Parallax, which distracts him for a minute.
She's literally the only person in this entire world that's good at their job.
Who can do just even one thing. Yeah. No, she's brilliant.
She knows how the computers work. Mm-hmm. She knows how to get the contracts signed.
That is true.
You know, like she's good at her job.
So she manages to grab the ring, and then she throws it to Hal. And then Parallax comes in and starts killing people in Coast City anyway.
There's something about this Coast City scene.
Yeah.
I'm always interested, especially when like there's so much CGI.
Yeah.
Like what do you think those extras are thinking? And there's one scene where they're all running from something, and then Parallax shows up, and then they all at the same time
turn around and run the other
stop
way.
And run the other way.
Yeah.
And like again, that could have been a really fun scene. Instead, it's kind of drowned out by the fact that you can't see anything.
Yeah. So Parallax is attacking. It's this big, scary smoke monster who just kind of like, what is he even doing? He just like puts tendrils down on the ground, and all of these people are looking up at him and kind of like dragging that across the ground. And if he touches people, then they dissolve in pain.
He just so hungry for those skeletons.
He just eats things. And so Hal and Carol are a little bit outside of the danger zone, and they're looking at it. And she says, like, you can never beat this. You'll die. And he says, well, maybe I can outthink it. The ring chose me for a reason, and this is why. And so now he is going to go. So the scary cloud is killing people. You can tell that this doesn't take place in New York because they run away. Like superhero movie New Yorkers, when they see something like this, they just back up a step and they just stand their ground. But no, Coast City,
they would be looking up at Parallax going like, you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us.
That's right. So there's a panic. The people are running all over the place. And it's like, no, dummies. Like, fear is the problem. You're supposed to use your will. Just stand there and imagine a big hammer. But fine. All right. So people are getting eaten. Hal shows up. Green Lantern shows up, who like makes a gun and shoots a gun at Parallax and throws a truck at him and stuff.
So I want to talk about this gun for 2 seconds.
Please do. The floor is yours.
Green Lantern has a magical wishing ring. He can make anything in the world.
Yep.
And he makes a gun. Now, I know I said earlier when they did the sword fight, why wouldn't he make a gun? Like, well, he didn't know what he was doing at the time.
That is true, Michi. Yeah, it's just little bullets up against this enormous thing.
It's little bullets. It's also something that requires him to stand and use his hands and pull triggers and look through the sight and like there's a lot going on.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
So literally, you could throw anything at him. Like the big thing, really, like you said, you keep saying like a giant hammer. Like a giant hammer.
Yeah,
that would be great.
Yeah. You know what he should create?
What's that?
A lady Parallax, who just like winks at him and like touches her hair, and Parallax is like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Look at that. And then you could just trap him. Then you could get him. Hal Jordan, I feel your fear growing. You will be dead soon. Parallax is now trash talking him. Hal's on the ground. He's saying, by brightest day and blackest night, the entire world will die because you were afraid. And you know what, Joe?
What, Danny?
If you believe in yourself and you stay true to your friends, you can accomplish anything. As I have learned from every movie ever made. Every climax is things are as bad as they could possibly be, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try. And so Hal looks up and he decides to try. And so he kind of flies, and he flies up inside Parallax somehow and comes out the other side and then like leads him away from the Earth, and they have a space battle, and Hal kind of throws a satellite at him, and then they're just kind of like throwing stuff around. There's a very dramatic orchestra kind of playing noisily somewhere. And then Hal looks at the sun and he says, the bigger you are, the faster you burn, as you know.
Then goes and stands next to the sun.
The sun.
He just stands right there next to it.
I know.
Like he basically like puts his elbow up on it and just kind of
come over here. Hits him with the big fist. Hal just reaches out and just punches Parallax in the chops.
Yep.
And Parallax falls into the sun. And it turns out that all you need is that just one big fist if it's the right moment.
It's awfully convenient that Parallax has a face, because Parallax is a cloud for the most part.
Right. Yeah. Something that you could just punch right in the face. Yeah.
Yeah. Like he tried to punch a cloud.
Yeah.
Did you say you talked about Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer?
Yes.
So like similarly, because Galactus is a cloud in that, isn't he?
Yes, he is. There's a lot of clouds. Yeah.
Like, is that easier to animate than?
He's a world engine, apparently. But we don't have to worry about him anymore because now he is falling into the sun, and that is apparently enough. Fear doesn't have any fear doesn't work on the sun. The sun isn't afraid of you. But now Hal is also falling into the sun. He has sacrificed himself to save the universe. But guess what's coming up? Guess who comes to help him out?
Is it Batman?
It's more Green Lanterns.
Oh, of course.
Stayed at home like little cowards and let him do all the work. And now at the last second, now they're the big heroes. So here's Tomar-Re, here's Kilowog and Sinestro. And he's like, fuck you guys.
They came just to get some of that credit, that sweet credit.
Because then the next thing that happens is another staff meeting back at OA.
Wait a minute. Why did only 3 of them show up? There are 3,600 lanterns. Only 3? When you know that friggin' Parallax is here, who just killed a bunch of your buddies?
They didn't show up to help with Parallax. They showed up to wait until he was done with Parallax and then pick him up and drive him home, is basically what just happened. They're like, oh, you done with the battle? Cool, come on. But then they go back and they have another meeting, and it's like, congratulations to Hal Jordan on a very successful sales year. And Sinestro is giving this speech like what he did, it's a reminder of why the Ring chose each of us. And it's like, well, it's a reminder of why the Ring chose him specifically. I don't know about the rest of you assholes. You've done nothing so far.
Yeah, the Ring chose all like 3,596 lanterns who didn't do shit.
Yeah, and then there's Hal. Sinestro says, our wills have not always been united, but it's time they were, which for Sinestro is an apology. You're impertinent, Hal Jordan. You're rash. You're volatile. You're opinionated. But I love you, you big lug. Come here.
Yeah.
Bring it in. And then everybody lifts up their arms and they go, yeah. And they just point their ring beams up into the sky. And that is the end.
Well, also Kilowog goes, can I train him or can I train him? No, Kilowog, you cannot. You didn't do anything.
No, these people are useless. Entirely useless. We are almost done. Carol is on her balcony again, dressed in a very tight dress in front of a sunset. And Hal is saying goodbye to her in a way that I am not convinced by. Where he says, my new job requires I travel, so I'm going to be away for a while. And she's like, she has a moment to be upset about that. And then he touches her chin and lifts up her head, which is the thing that men should always do to women. And he says, away, never gone. So, like your other deadbeat boyfriends who call once in a while, I'll come back when I feel like it.
Yeah, he literally just told her, I'm going to fly away, but I'll be back for the booty calls.
Yeah, exactly. It is such a boy ending. And she smiles and she's okay with it. And he just flies away, off into the great unknown.
The ending comes so abruptly, by the way.
Yep. Yeah, it does.
Where he's just like, anyway, goodbye.
See everybody. See you in the next movie. And then we have a mid-credit sequence. it's the most basic possible mid-credit sequence where you've got Sinestro, he has the yellow ring and he just sticks it on his finger and he turns all yellow for not a shit ton of reason, but it seems to feel pretty good. He's got yellow eyes now, so that is not motivated or useful. It just says, come back for the sequel. This guy will be in it and he'll be evil next time.
This scene only exists because everyone in the movie theater went, wait a minute. Isn't Sinestro supposed to be a bad guy? Like,
yeah,
did they forget to put that in the movie?
His name is Sinestro.
Yeah.
And we've been treating him the whole time like he's just the boss.
Yeah, it feels like such an afterthought.
Yes.
Not only because of the, oh shoot, we forgot to make him a Yellow Lantern.
Mm-hmm.
The threat of Parallax is over. Like, they made the Yellow Lantern to fight Parallax.
Yeah.
Didn't need it. And for fill-in reason, he's like, I'll just put on the ring anyway. Like, he has no reason to do it. Absolutely no reason to do it.
Yeah, no, he just feels like it. So that is the end of the movie. You want to talk about toys?
Yeah, I would love to talk about toys.
Let's talk about toys. Really, so I've been doing this now at the end of episodes, and theoretically, it's about kind of seeing, well, so how was this movie then explained and marketed to children? But really, I just like saying action figure names. So I'm going to do that.
So excited.
Yeah, Mattel had the license. There were, in the basic set, there were 20 figures with 7 Hals. So there was regular Hal Jordan. There was Colossal Cannon Hal Jordan. Max Charge, or I'm sorry, really, it's Colossal Cannon Green Lantern, Max Charge Green Lantern, Test Pilot Green Lantern, Solar Saw, and Hyper Hammer, and Battle Axe. And these are all basically the same toy, just with, like, you know, he's holding out his ring and it creates a different, you know, there's like a boxing glove and then, you know, a solar saw and a battle axe and whatnot.
Things that are not in the movie.
Yes. Yeah. Test Pilot Hal Jordan actually was him just in his flight suit.
I was going to ask if any of them are him in his civvies or whatever.
Yeah. So there is a Test Pilot one that does that.
Yeah. I'm fascinated at the idea of superhero movies that have action figures that are just like a guy.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like Bob the Goon from Batman.
Right. Yeah.
Or like the Penguin from the recent The Batman movie, where it's like, it's just a guy. It's a guy in a suit. What kid would want that? It's Hal Jordan wearing a shirt. That's the thing. Like, he's nothing.
Well, that is, you know, fortunately, like, that's why they gave him the Test Pilot job, because at least there's some kind of costume he can put on.
Sure,
and
yeah.
The game I assume that you would play with Test Pilot Hal Jordan is like he's zooming through the air and then he remembers his dad's death and he crashes. That's the game. That's the game that you play on that.
Does it come with a tiny little photograph of his dad to put on the dash? Yeah.
It should. That would be great. And then there's a bunch of others. There's Sinestro and Abin Sur, like you would imagine, and Kilowog and Krona, who's the fallen guardian. For some reason, we gotta have him involved.
Oh, Krona's the one that turns into a Yellow Lantern.
Yeah, so we gotta have him. And then there are these randos. So there's Stel and Vaz and Isomot Cole, Hanu and Gallius Zed and Gahoo and Green Man. Description on the back of the Gallius Zed. I'll just read you this one. Always ready for a fight, Gallius Zed delights in charging into battle with an oversized cranium that forms the bulk of his body. This quick-tempered and outspoken member of the Corps is usually first to volunteer for a mission, inspiring his teammates to follow his lead across enemy lines. That actually sounds like a character. They just described a whole character to us. And we didn't really have like a lot of characters who had personalities like that. Like, I would have enjoyed seeing that in the movie. So it's just, this is so funny to me that clearly Warner Brothers and Mattel, what they really wanted was like this huge set of different Green Lanterns, because that would be fun for kids. It's like to learn about all of these different characters and then play with them and create.
And that's collectible.
Yeah. Nobody told the movie to go and be like that. It's actually like a super simple story. Basically, the whole story is like Hal Jordan flies back and forth to Oa a couple of times. And then he punches Parallax in the face, and that's the end of the movie.
Yes, and Hector Hammond is there. Try not to look at him.
Yeah, because he's gross looking. There's a movie Masters set, which are larger figures, and then it says build Parallax. There's with each of those figures, there's a collect and connect piece. So you collect all of these figures that are like $17 each, and then you can put them together and create your own parallax.
And does each one just have like a piece of cotton candy? Because that's what parallax looks like.
Right. Yeah, no, it's like a piece of like scary cloud and then part of a skull. Yeah. And so you connect that all together. I don't think that anybody actually did that. They didn't, in the main set, they did not include Tomare, but in the Movie Master set that they did. And so I was looking at a fan site who talks about these toys, and they mentioned that he can't stand up. And I was like, I knew it. I knew that dude couldn't stand. I knew he was all top heavy and walks on his tippy toes. And so on the package, it actually says, like, figure may not stand alone as shown, which is amazing. Johannes, thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been super fun.
This has been a blast. Thank you for having me. I love talking about comics and comic book movies and superheroes almost as much as I like talking about Muppets.
Great. Well, I'm so thrilled that I could bring you here and give you that experience. Where can people find you?
Well, almost all of my work is on Tough Pigs. We're on all the socials, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Patreon, TeePublic. We got it all. Very tiny little bit of my stuff is on Twitter at Johannes, or on Instagram at Tough Pigs Joe.
Mm-hmm.
But almost everything I do is on Tough Pigs, because if I'm going to waste time on social media, it's going to be for the website.
You have a whole Joe Consumes Media.
I do. I run I just for funsies write movie reviews of all the media that I consume. I do it on my personal Facebook, but I also started publishing it on Substack. So if you go on Substack and do a search for Joe Consumes Media, you'll be able to get a little something in your inbox once a week of all the garbage that I watch.
And it is fantastic and always worth reading.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying it.
I am very much. For more comedy about the history of superhero movies, you can go to the blog at superheroeseveryday.com. If you like the show, please leave a review, or you could reach me on Twitter, on Facebook, or on the blog. It would be awesome to hear from you. And please tell the people in your life about the show. Here's what's coming up in the next episode. Coming up next week, I'm joined by my friend Sloan, illustrator and creator of the Hauntwares clothing line, to take a look at the 2007 Crypt Kickin' Spectacular, Ghost Rider. But I want to talk for just a second about the demographics for this movie, because this is the only movie filmed entirely on location on the side of a guy's van.
He wakes up in the morning, he's like, oh, I feel like I'm missing a drop of blood.
I usually keep these organized. They cast Wes Bentley from American Beauty, who plays Blackheart as kind of like a soap opera demon, and he's got a lot of white makeup on. It doesn't make him look pale as much as it just looks like he has a lot of white makeup on.
Satan has been collecting every human soul for all of eternity.
Yeah.
These 1,000 are going to tip the scales.
Well, there haven't been that many bad people. He has really high standards. All right, get excited for that. Come back next week for the Superheroes Everyday podcast. Thanks for listening. Love you. Bye.
The bigger you are, the faster you burn.